By now, you're familiar that software as a service, or SaaS, is a complete cloud service model that is centrally hosted and subscription-based. An Active Directory helps a company manage its employees and company resources. It grants access to SaaS services. In this video, you'll learn about the requirements of an on-premises Active Directory. You'll investigate what is required when setting up an on-premises Active Directory, or AD. Sam Scoops continues to thrive. Sam realizes that she must evaluate the current IT infrastructure because the business's need for more staff and devices has increased. She has been made aware of an Active Directory as a possible tool for keeping track of employee access more easily and decides to explore this solution further. An Active Directory is a service tasked with managing all of the resources on a network. Resources can include various third-party software that companies use, such as SaaS, as well as customer-specific software applications. Think about a phone book directory which has a list of names, addresses, and phone numbers. It is very easy to query this directory because it is in alphabetical order. Similarly, an Active Directory is an organized store that includes references to all users, computers, printers, and any other resources that are part of a network. When a new user joins a firm, they are added to the Active Directory. All the user information, such as their name, email address, department, and role within the company, is uploaded to the system. The administrator then allocates the necessary user permissions to the system. Keeping an Active Directory allows administrators to create groups for users, which simplifies management tasks. For example, an administrator may create a group called Finances, which oversees managing the company's money affairs. Another group may be called Floor Staff, which is in charge of serving customers and other front-of-house tasks. The privileges of a member of Finances differs from a member assigned to Floor Staff. So, how do you create an on-premises Active Directory? Let's unpack what is needed to do this. First, recall that AD is developed by Microsoft and a Windows server like Windows Server 2016, 2018, or 2019 is required. There are some open source variations such as OpenLDAP, FreeIPA, and Samba 4. However, these require different configurations with potentially some additional steps to integrate with Windows-based applications. Second, Active Directory Domain Services, or ADDS, is the core element of Active Directory that governs authentication and authorization services. An essential part of the directory that links the names to the IP addresses, which are the digital locations of the services, is Domain Name System, referred to as DNS. Remember all you learned about servers earlier in the program? For AD to be effective, there needs to be smooth communication between all servers and users involved. This is the network infrastructure. Now, think about hardware. An on-premises implementation requires hardware to facilitate the various interactions. Another required element is the IP address schema. Recall that the schema is the blueprint or structure, and here it relates to the type of objects that can be created and how they relate to one another. So, Active Directory design is configuring the structure of your directory. In other words, what are the various domains and groups? What policies and permissions will be associated with each domain? Who needs access to it, and to what degree of access is required for each group? Finally, you'll need to configure the appropriate administration tools. Some examples of required tools include the Active Directory sites and services to help manage the physical location of the company resources, and the Active Directory Users and Computers console, which is a tool to create and manage users' accounts, groups, and computers associated with your AD. So essentially, setting up an on-premises AD requires a server operating system, Active Directory domain services, DNS, network infrastructure, hardware, IP address plan, Active Directory design, and the various administrative tools to maintain and operate the AD. Sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? Fortunately, that doesn't always have to be the case. Instead of an on-premises Active Directory, another option is to use a cloud-based AD. These can implement many of the previously mentioned steps automatically, providing online access with ease. One such solution is Microsoft's Azure Active Directory, which you'll become familiar with soon. In this video, you learned that Active Directory is a tool that network administrators use to manage users and resources on a network. It simplifies the management of staff and administrative user permissions by having one centralized source to configure, authorization, and access. Implementing an on-premises version can be technically challenging and requires a dedicated department to manage and configure it. However, you'll soon discover that a cloud-based AD can take care of much of this work.